Hello and welcome to episode 240 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The Wall 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram. Can you rate us 5 stars on Spotify, please, and subscribe on YouTube because it really helps.
Jack Williams is here.
Hi, everybody.
And Dan Bayliss.
Hello.
Harry, let's start with Bournemouth away. Usually a place we go to where we get at least a point. We did one better than that this time, taking all 3. Gary Oneil said it wasn't about him. He probably feels quite good after taking the 3 points against 10 men.
Yeah, what a 3 games for him and his managerial career for a start. And I know he said it weren't about him, but he must have been absolutely buzzing his tits off after getting that win. Poor first half, I thought. Fairly even. Obviously go 1-0 down. But for once, well, he's done it a few games now. He made the correct substitutions for me. And his substitutions and the red card, obviously, got us the vital 3 points. And it's a nice little breathing space now and a crucial win for him and Wolves, obviously.
Jack, it was all changed. Lots of confusion over who was suspended, who wasn't. Doherty coming in for Semedo. Traore coming in for
Lamina.
There we go. I had a picture of him in my head and I couldn't quite think who it was. We didn't think Bellegarde was available. Was he available? Wasn't he? But didn't even make the bench in the end. So his injury. And yeah, I mean, first start for Doherty and sort of actually did what he was supposed to be doing as a wing back and probably used to it playing in the old goal.
Yeah, I think most of the confusion started about who was suspended and who wasn't on this podcast last week because we didn't have a clue, did we really? And we still don't now by the sound of it. Yeah, I agree with Harry. Very poor first half, I thought. I feared the worst, particularly going in at half time. The thing that really, really annoyed me is if you watch their goal back, their goal in the first half, it basically takes them 2 forward passes playing out from the back. And before you know it, 2 seconds later, after just 2 simple forward passes straight through our midfield, they're going down their right-hand side with a man over. And you're thinking, like, how have we got in this position? We've just absolutely fallen asleep here. And I start to fear the worst. And it's a typical Wolves thing to do, isn't it? As in putting performances against the bigger sides. And then when you've got the easiest one by a country mile of the last 3 on paper, you fear that we're gonna roll over. But it didn't happen in the end, did it? We responded in the second half. You get a bit of luck with the sending off. But even then, actually, with the sending off, it was looking like one of those days where we weren't going to be able to break down 10 men again. But luckily, at the end, up pops Sasha, who's like goal to minute ratio must be outstanding at the moment, really ridiculous because he's only played about half an hour and he scored 2 winners, hasn't he? So fair play, good to get it. And yeah, Gary Oneil will be buzzing. Not the best performance ever, but it doesn't matter because it's starting to put distance between ourselves and teams like Bournemouth.
And Dan, for the first time in a while, we were sort of looking at the stats and we're boss possession, obviously, mostly due to the 10 men, but I think it's something like 21 shots, 7 on target. And when those are sort of starting to move in the right direction, you're going to start to see the payback in goals and hopefully wins.
Yeah, I mean, we've only not scored in 1, right? Been some bad performances in there, but we're scoring more goals, which is a positive thing. I actually thought we were really poor first half, and there was a little bit of luck in it. I mean, by about 9 o'clock Monday night, I thought we'd won the Champions League. I thought did we not?
Championship, we might have a chance.
That's all I've seen on social media since about 9 o'clock on Monday. Is that we're the best team ever?
I think you're talking about Gary O'Neill's appearance on Sky Sports News. Is that correct?
Monday Night Football, not Sky Sports News.
Sorry, yes.
Talk about the game first. I did think we were poor first half, and we did well to go and pinch it very, very late. I think there was a little bit of luck on our side, the way it came about. But at least we're creating some chances. That's a hell of a lot better than some parts of last season and some parts of earlier this season. So I can't knock it, but it's the right result from a game we needed to take some points from, really.
I think you were saying that you were still going to take it month by month and carry on doing that, and that will be the case.
Yeah,
unless we beat Newcastle.
This is a good month, right? This is a good break it down into try and get more than a point a game. That keeps you up. That's where we are right now. I don't know. The Everton win away and this win was sort of a little bit smash and grab, given how poor we were in periods of it. But you take it all day, every day. I think there's still a lot of work to do. I'm not going to be a complete naysayer and say he's a PE teacher and stuff, because that was very harsh. But it was off the back of some really stupid decisions where he made the same substitutions every time and we got called out 3 times in a row. But at the same time, there's been some real sort of hyper positivity off the back of it that's sort of made him out to be this. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a manager that it compared to.
I saw someone call him a brilliant tactician and a pragmatic manager. I think that was some of the comments from the bigger accounts on X, formerly Twitter.
The thing that I took from it most is that I didn't realise he was fluent in sign language.
He did move his hands a lot.
He does talk with his hands a lot. But I think if we're talking about the Monday Night Football appearance, I think it's it was quite good, and I think Wolves fans do get a little bit excited because you kind of got that little bit of insight with them, particularly showing the clips from the training ground and those sorts of things, and then being able to actually see it be realised actually on the Saturday game. It's a nice little snapshot of insight that we wouldn't normally get, which I think has got people a little bit excited. And to be fair, I know you think you're getting ahead of ourselves, but he's beat Man City and remained unbeaten since then. So I think he's starting to turn the tide, even with some of us lot on here, and I include myself in that, who've been very negative towards him, because look at the last 3 results on paper. You can't really whinge of 7 points from 9 with those games there. So you've got to be pleased with that. Back to the game. I know you said we had a little bit of luck with their goal. I think Bournemouth will be very, very disappointed with the goal that they gave us away to win it, because God knows what they're trying to do there, where they're trying to play out from the back quickly in a position where they just didn't look comfortable doing it, really, and put the pressure on themselves. And fair play to Sasa, because he's the one who put the pressure on, won the ball back, and then ultimately ended up scoring the goal. And that's a sort of feeding off scraps that it looks like at first, but ended up actually winning us the game. So you make your own luck in those sort of circumstances, and fair play to him.
And Harry, they had the wrong Neto, didn't they, Bournemouth, unfortunately, or fortunately for us?
Yeah, well, he crashed that one off the bar, didn't he, early on? Which is, just go on, just leave me out the podcast this week.
No, it's all right. Just delay. Just carry on. Just like you can hear you. Just a few seconds delay. Just go for it. Carry on.
Oh, this is going to be like Mike Bassett. This is.
Yeah. Okay. So Neto was fantastic. Another assist. Smashed one off the bar first half. Brilliant. I thought Hwang did well, although he missed that one sitter. He set up Sasha really well for the goal. Cunha was terrible first half, but I thought he took his goal really well. But the biggest difference on the day was Tommy Doyle. He come on and he just calmed it down. It was a great substitution by Gary Oneil, and he just controlled the play and broke the lines. Obviously, the red card was massive. Don't know what Cook was doing for them, but fair play for Hwang for winding him up and getting him sent off, really. But when they go down to 10 men, I said it on my post-match reaction, it's sometimes harder to get the winner because they're just going to sit back. So it took us to the 88th minute to do it, and it would have been 2 points dropped. But I think you've got to give the team and Gary Oneil for his substitutions a lot of credit to get that win. And also bringing Sarabia on, he's had a lot of stick. He weren't the best, but I think bringing him on in that sort of game is really good because he's the type to turn in the number 10 role and try and break the lines and get that goal. And as you mentioned, their mistake. But I think Gary Oneil deserves a lot of credit. And his turnaround after that Ipswich loss is absolutely incredible. Like I'm just going to give him so much credit now. And I am going to get carried away. I'm not going to be a naysayer like a few people on this podcast.
Speaking of which, Bayliss, what did you think of Tommy Doyle? Obviously, he came to the club in strange circumstances, obviously, with what happened with Nunes. A promising young player that had done well at Sheffield United last season. Looks like it could be a fairly cheap deal. Obviously, the Nunes transfer plays into that as well. But sort of, it's the first time we've seen him for an extended period of a game.
Yeah, it's a good performance, isn't it? He came on and he definitely changed the game in our favour. But I thought he did, as Harry just said, he calmed it down, or Jack just said, he calmed it right down, and you sort of felt we got control of the game after that. And it was chances and stuff. I don't know. I'm still sort of 50-50 on what Harry said there. The results and the performances have been way better. And we're seeing players come into it more now. Because Cunha, for all the good things he's done, has been equally frustrating. We're seeing the younger players sort of starting to get a go. We like the look of Bellegarde, and then he's gone and in and out. But it is way more positive, and it was nice getting that sort of look at how a manager thinks and how a manager sets up his team for the next game. But they all do that. It's really weird. I've never seen anything like that during a season before. Have you? Is anyone else?
No. Groundbreaking.
It's quite interesting.
Let's talk about it, because I don't know how I feel about it, because I think I'd feel better about it if it was someone else's manager going, this is how I beat Man City. And then to me, it just seems like you're helping everyone else and giving everybody else pointers. And I think sometimes there has to be an element. I know we love coverage and we love analysis and digging into games and putting a magnifying glass over them. But sometimes, do you think, Jack, that you've got to let your trade secrets remain secrets?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Obviously, it would be a bit different if he was doing it before the Bournemouth game, but I suppose it does give away a little bit too much into what he thinks like as a manager. So I can see why there is some risk there, but he knows he can't go and do exactly the same thing again to Bournemouth later in the season now, or to whoever we're playing next, because they're going to be watching that analysis as well and then trying to use it to their advantage. So, he's going to have to, he won't have shared that unless he was comfortable with it and thought that it was just a case of just using it for this game coming up. But the thing that I thought as well is, would they have still had him on if we'd have lost or got battered at Bournemouth? I think he was already booked, wouldn't he? So I don't know. That's the thing, because if he'd have just gone on there, let's say we'd lost 1-0 and said, oh, here we are. This is how I thought we were going to counteract them, and the only footage they've got is us completely passing us apart in 2 passes through the midfield. It would be
they'd have just used the City game, wouldn't they? Because they used the City
potentially,
game as well.
yeah. So I reckon there's a few people actually, if they had, obviously, I'm assuming it's been booked for a while, but I'm guessing there's a few people in the sort of Sky Sports behind the scenes who are quite happy that we went on to beat Bournemouth, because it just adds to the narrative really and helps sell the Monday night audience a little bit more.
Do you think
who else does that over the season?
I was going to say that was my question.
Yeah, because that'd be really, I really hope Sam Allardyce comes back and it's just lump it up there and give it to the big bloke.
I mean, they have had managers on before, haven't they? I mean, Connor Cody's done it before, hasn't he? So when he was with Wolves, I know they try and rotate it and stuff with people related to the team. So it's not unheard of them to have people who are currently properly involved in Premier League clubs or even management at the time go on that. It's just
never to the level of going, this is what we've done on the training ground.
Yeah, if you're filming it, yeah.
I've not seen that before, no. But some people who watch it religiously might say differently. I don't know.
I mean, it was great to watch.
People loved it, didn't they? If you looked on Twitter, the general fan, just a casual fan, absolutely loved it. Oneil was getting so much praise online.
What do you think it's a good thing then, Harry? Do you want to see more of it, or is it a case of actually he's only showing one part of your preparation for one team out of 20?
Yeah, but then he did show the bit of the Man City one as well, didn't he? So, he did show 2 bits, but he's just, I think you can tell he loves football, can't you? His hands, like you said, were going bloody all over the shop. He was like bloody Mr. What's it called? Mr. Sizzle. But yeah, I think it was good, and you can see why he did really well in his PowerPoint. In his PowerPoint presentation to Matt Hobbs, because he's very enthusiastic and his PowerPoint display. But yeah, it was a fascinating watch, and he represented Wolves well.
Let's move on to Newcastle up next. Dan, I think you're probably going to give yourself permission to be excited if we come away with something from that game. They played Dortmund midweek. Obviously, they're playing at the moment and losing, but we don't know the outcome of that game at the time of recording. Wednesday, Saturday, it's a lot of games to cram in. Newcastle are in very, very good form, though. After a sort of a shaky start to the season, but last time out, they beat Crystal Palace 4-0. West Ham was a 2-2. 2-0 against Burnley before that. And did obviously 8 against Sheffield United. And I think when that result happened, we were thinking, oh my God, I think that's around the time we played City. But how would you be approaching that one? Because there's going to be more people available.
It's got all the makings of an absolutely perfect Saturday, this. Late kickoff, get up there early, midday, 1 o'clock. Lovely crisp autumn day, bit of sunshine, 15 pints, lose 8-0. Come away with a result. It's all lined up. It's written in the stars, isn't it? It's all lined up to be one of those super Saturdays where you get more time on the beers with your mates. You get to the stadium. We're on the trajectory on the way up. They're losing at the moment midweek, so they've had a lot of games in a short space of time, even though they're on a really good run of form. We just got to go and take that advantage that we've had the last couple of weeks where we've played better and better and take it into these more important games. You know, we have been better at home. I thought the Liverpool score might have flattered Liverpool a little bit.
I think it did, yeah.
So, you know, it's still a tough place to come, Molineux. And I'd just love us to go out there and play with that sort of intensity and pressing game that we have put on other teams. Because that would be fantastic to watch.
A couple of people in the comments thinking that we're going to come away with something. Jack, what sort of starting 11 are you going to be looking at? Because there's actual competition for places now.
There is competition now. I agree with what the comments are saying, though. It's going to be a tough game, but it's no tougher, I don't think, than the last two home games we've had against City and Villa. There's no reason why we can't go and get something. Like you say, Newcastle are playing now, which should give us an advantage. They started a little slow this season. There was a lot of draws at the start. So there's no reason why we can't get something. And they will be looking at this fixture now and thinking, you know, that's a difficult one too, because we're in a decent run of form. Starting 11-wise, I think Semedo and Lamina will come back in, to be honest. I think you've got to, considering they've both been very solid throughout the start of this season. And the rest of it kind of picks itself. But it's good that we do have that competition now, because mentioning Tommy Doyle, then I've not really seen much of him when he was at Sheffield United. We've only really seen him in bit parts this season in sort of League Cup games and that sort of thing. But to have that on the bench to someone who can come on and play a forward pass like that, like we saw on a few occasions, is really, really good. So it's nice that we've got some competition in those midfield areas now, and obviously players still to come back from either suspension or players that we got in January who haven't quite got their fitness level up yet. So yeah, it's exciting. It's what you need, isn't it? You need a squad with some depth in and players on the bench who can change games when you're in a position you need to be. But I think he'll go back to basics, I think, really, and go back to the sort of team selection that he's. I know it's not been the same every week, but it's kind of similar, isn't it? And I think, yeah, Lamina and Semedo will definitely come back into that starting lineup.
Harry, thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I echo what the lads have said, really. It's just, I think we'll stick to a 5 at the back. Although on Monday Night Football, he kind of had us with a 4 with Toti Gomez left back, didn't he? So that confused me a bit, but I think he just adapts to the situation. You know, it's time recording tonight, so.
Perfect. We lost you a little bit there, but we got the gist of it. Let's do a score prediction, Jack.
I'm going to be optimistic and say 1-1.
1-1. Bayliss?
I was actually going to go 1-1.
Excellent. Harry's going to go 4-1 because I said so. And I'm going to go for a 1-1-2. So let's get your latest betting odds. And I doubt there'll be any ticket news because the website's shit.
I think the Newcastle game will have finished by the time Harry hears this ticket news, to be honest.
Right.
Go on, Bailey. We go.
I had a little bet builder, and I quite like this. It's not a lot of things in there, and it's pretty decent odds. So a full-time result to be a draw, Cunha to score in 90 minutes, and there to be 5 corners or more in each half, 30-1. I quite like that.
Nice.
Just to show you the spread of how the betting's looking. I thought someone was going to be negative. I thought someone was going to say they're going to pan us.
We're normally you.
That's a good point. I said Isaac to score first. Newcastle 4-0 is only 66-1.
That is short.
Just compare that up. I just did a couple of quick ones, but Neto to score first, 2-1 Wolves, 80-1.
Good value.
Very good value. And Hwang to score first, 2-2 draw. The old Desmond is 85-1.
85-1. Perfect. Has anybody taken a look at Jeff Shee's column? I thought it was very, very strange. I don't know whether to try and bring Harry back into this. Harry, if you just start talking, then I'll be quiet. Otherwise, we'll move on to something else.
Yeah, I'm here, but whether I'm actually here, I don't know. You'll have to let me know. I thought the column. I'm just going to carry on what you say. No. Yes, good.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. I thought the column was bizarre. He was talking about Championship manager and Woking. Very weird. I probably won't read another one. It was just nothing. It was like a non-column. It was like we gained nothing from it. So yeah, good scoop for the Express and Star, but very bizarre article.
Did you have to pay for it, Harry?
No,
you'd have to pay. No.
Okay.
What do you think, Jack? I mean, we talked about it. We touched on it that he was starting it last week, and that we always found it a little bit strange when hierarchy is sort of coming out and trying to talk about it. I mean, we've had it since the beginning of time with program notes and notes from the chairman, notes from the manager. So, I mean, is it just a case of they want to get their point across? They want to keep hammering home that same message, and the more eyes that are in front of that message and where they want to go and expectations is a good thing.
I'm not sure. I think it's more just to do with them trying to have a think about how to rebuild Jeff Shee's image and how to have him reach out a little bit more with the fans, really, because it's been a bit of a turbulent few months, really, with looking like we're going to get relegated, being saved from relegation, changing the manager, high-profile player outgoings. I think they're just looking at other stuff to try and build that relationship up. I don't think there's much more to it than that. And they've just sort of said, Jeff, let's give you a slot in the local paper. That might help. And I'll be honest, I'd be shocked if Jeff's actually put pen to paper himself on any of that other than just signing it off at the end. To be honest, I'd imagine his time's a bit too valuable to be actually penning that on himself. He'll probably get a draft and proofread it, and that'll be it. But it doesn't do much for me. I know some people do still, read the Express and Star quite a bit, but yeah,
the online presence of the Express and Star is probably around 700,000 in readership online. So I mean, it's not a small amount of people.
They've started putting the stuff. You noticed this on the Express and Star, though. We have to sign in to see some of the articles, and that just puts me off straight away. I'm like, I can't be asked doing that. So that's why I don't really look at it anymore. Well, it's not giving it away because you have to exchange your personal details for it, don't you? And then they're going to pester you, and it just.
That's true. I don't know why they asked my mother's maiden name and my chip and pin, but there you go. Bayliss, thoughts?
I haven't read it. I just had a little look on their website and I can't even find it. So it's not particularly.
It came out a while ago. It's a bit like when you get like an email from the CEO of a company and that you work for, and they're talking about something that it just doesn't affect that, like a cost of living crisis or something. It's like you're on £500,000 a year. You talk about cost of living crisis, but I can tell you that is written by the people and signed off by that person. So I can confirm that is absolutely the case. We last week spoke about new logos, and we all had a go at doing it. They were all pretty rubbish. Now we said that we would give away a shirt to someone who tickled our fancy with a design. So thank you if you sent one in. It was a rigorous process to find one, but one that we all agreed with was actually done by Harry by accident. So Harry gets a Wolves shirt, and it's going to have an extra large collar, so he can get his nose in it. And that's going to be the new logo. You can see it in the top right hand corner of the screen now. So hopefully the brand will continue to grow. Now, there was the Wolves Express podcast in which Dicko, Afobe and Sako were guests with Mikey Burrows. I'm going to hand over to Harry. If it works, there might be a little bit of a delay because the internet is terrible. But they were reminiscing, weren't they, Harry, back in the day? And obviously those three were instrumental in Wolves' relative success at that time.
Yeah, like I mentioned last week, it's actually a really good podcast, the Wolves Express. They tried the old Gold Club, didn't they, a few years ago, and that was rubbish, I thought. But the new look's really good. They got the three of them on. And what surprised me was, you can't believe they only started 13 games in that season when that song was all kicking off and that. But they scored like 30-odd goals in those 30 games between them. But really good listen. I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably have listened to it. But the bit about Sako turning down West Brom when he first left, but then eventually did join West Brom, didn't he? But what an era. I know we didn't go up that year, but I think it's the highest amount of points ever that a team didn't make the playoffs with. But it's really good memory if you want to listen to it, if you haven't already. Great listen.
Yeah, it's actually a really, really good podcast, to be fair. And like, obviously, Wolves Express, and it's 10 minutes long or so, but although that one I think was a little bit longer. But yeah, that time was obviously was brilliant, and it was entertaining, and it was exactly why the pyramid in English football works, I think, isn't it, Jack? And, we did I think during COVID, we did a season review of that season, because obviously there was no football on, and we did the 13-14 season. So go and find that episode. But sometimes it's just nice to reminisce, isn't it? And they're pretty good guests, and to get the three of them on is great.
Yeah, it's one of those seasons thinking back. Obviously, as you mentioned, we just missed out on the playoffs, didn't we? But it was really, really, really close. And it's one of those years where you think if we just scraped in, we'd fancy our chances of actually going there and beating the teams who were above us, because we had a nice little thing going, particularly, between those three that you mentioned. I haven't listened to the podcast myself, so but it's interesting to see what you said about Albion. There, he didn't actually want to join it. Them apparently.
He had the pen there ready, Jack. Ready, and he didn't do it. He was at the training ground and everything.
Then just decided to a little bit later when he had fewer options.
4 years later.
Yeah, you've got to put a little bit of time in between those. But I think it's great. Another question that popped up just before we leave you all was one that popped up on the podcast that Gary Lineker, Micah Richards, and Alan Shearer do. And it was, what was it, Harry? Have you ever met a famous person at a game or in the away end? Was that?
So no, what it was, they said, have you ever been in an away end or in a home end and just been sat next to or bumped into a footballer or something like that? And if my internet's old enough, there's a few. So I remember Shrewsbury away in League One. He's probably been to loads, but I remember being sat right by Steve Bull, so that was one. Andy Much away at Bolton. I remember Carl Henry away West Ham on New Year's Day a few years ago, put £600 behind the bar at half time. So little things like that. And Rob, obviously we've all met Robert Plant, haven't we? I think we met him at Wembley. I can't remember if I was with you actually. I bumped into Robert Plant. And obviously, what's her name? Morgan Gibbs White's missus. Remember that, Bayliss?
Do actually. It was Forest away in the cup.
Oh, that's ironic.
Ironically.
Yeah. Anyone else? I mean, if it's an away game, then I probably would have been absolutely battered. So I probably met loads of people and then just can't remember. But Jack, I mean, you go to a lot of away games. Have you ever come across anybody in that sense that would be famous?
No,
still going through.
Harry's got loads, but I can't think of that many. I remember that Johnny Phillips from Sky Sports. He was stood in front of me once. It was actually the game away at Cardiff where they missed the 2 penalties late on. And the thing that was most noticeable about it is the fact that because he was working for Sky Sports, he couldn't celebrate. He wasn't allowed to be jumping up and down in the crowd. So even when it happened, he had to remain still. So I just found that quite interesting. It was quite noticeable as well that he wasn't allowed to join in with the chant or anything. So he had to restrain himself. I'm sure he jumped up and down a little bit, but he wasn't allowed to chant or anything or these sorts of things. So I remember that sticking in my head.
Someone else has come back to me as you were talking. I remember 0-0 away at Villa when we went top of the league, Mick McCarthy era. Danielle Lloyd was sat right in front of me. Jamie O'Hara's ex-missus. Yeah.
Wow.
And
you just spot these people, don't you? You spot these people straight away. You spend most of the time looking for bloody YouTubers in the crowd. That's your problem. That's how you see these people. But I can't remember. Steve Bull has been in quite a few away ends. That's quite commonplace, isn't it? I think Michael Kitely's been in one.
I've only ever seen him once, Jack. I've only ever seen him once, Steve Bull.
No, I've seen him a couple of times. Yeah, a couple of times in the away end. Yeah.
Bayliss, any famous faces?
Sat next to Dazzling Dave.
Dazzling Dave, obviously. Matt Cooper.
None are really coming to mind. I know that my old man ended up sat really close to Bully at Wembley, but that ended badly.
What, did you hit him?
Don't know which way around.
To be fair, when I was in the Steve Bull upper, I had a seat ticket next to Robert Plant, to be fair. I forgot about that one.
Oh, did you?
Yours is quite a long list, Harry.
It's very long, isn't it? Yeah.
Genuinely, the only
that's why I brought it up as a topic.
I think because you got loads. Yeah.
I literally can't think of any. Mark Rhodes,
I don't think
with him last Sunday is the closest thing I think I've ever got.
I think we were quite Bayliss. Remember when we went to? I think it was Tottenham at home, and we were quite close to Daniel Levy.
Oh yeah, your old man sorted out some tickets in the upper bloody right.
Jeff Shee, lads.
Right, we were.
Jeff,
Watford.
Jeff, yeah.
Yeah, Watford away. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll have to dig out that photo.
I think we are struggling here for people who in the away end at Wolves. We haven't got many celebrities who aren't directly football related, have we?
Mr. Miami.
So
we all met Susie Perry in Barcelona.
We met Susie Perry in Barcelona. Yeah,
I didn't. I'm absolutely gutted about that. I am gutted. Can't believe it.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, but we haven't got many celebrities, have we? Who are like proper celebrities but have nothing to do with football. We got Robert Plant, Beverly Knight. That's about it. Like
Goldie, Mike Tyson, some of the Jacksons.
We haven't, have we? No,
we've not, have we? There's not many famous people from Wolverhampton.
Susie Perry. Oh, we've said that. What's her name? Jackie Oatley.
Jackie Oatley. Yeah, not much. Right. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up for another week. Best of luck. You have our permission for the weekend to either drown your sorrows or celebrate profusely, given what happens at 5:30. We'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell. Very delayed, so I'll carry on talking and you can chip in. And
I'm sorry about my internet. I'll try and sort it out for next time. It's just getting ridiculous. But apologies if it was a painful listen. But we've got a new logo. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Williams.
Yeah, bye everybody.
And Dan Bayliss.
Yeah, brands on point, content's rubbish.
And it's a goodbye from me. Goodbye.